been following this Cavs team for any period of time, you know, like I know, this Cavs team needs a wing, right? They clearly need a wing. So we're going to look at some trade proposals, some trade targets to see who could the Cavs acquire before the trade deadline. But before I do that, I want to thank my sponsors today, DraftKings. The big game is finally here. Some people go to parties for chili. Other people go for chips and dip. Only those in the know are there for the real action, and action can only be found at DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm teaming up with DraftKings to give all new customers a winning offer. All new customers have to do is sign up for DraftKings using my promo code CavsBurner. Bet at least $5 on the big game, and you'll instantly receive an additional $200 in bonus bets. Yep, that's right. New customers bet just $5 on the big game and get an additional $200 in bonus bets deposited into your account. Wondering what you can use the $200 in bonus bets on? Try same game parlays where you can combine multiple bets in one game, like with which team has the most passing yards and will score the first touchdown of the night for even bigger earnings. If mobile sports betting is not available yet in your state, don't worry. You can still get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code CavsBurner. Bet $5 on the big game and get $200 in bonus bets instantly deposited into your account. It's promo code CavsBurner only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I want to thank DraftKings for sponsoring this video. Now let's jump into it. The first one that I saw, right, was this 3-team trade from the KingJamesGospel.com. And I assume they're referring to LeBron because this is a basketball website. And they said, hey, what if you could make a trade and the Cavs would get out with Miami and the Pistons? It would be a 3-team trade. And what if out of this trade, the following teams would get the following? Okay, so this trade has the Cavs getting Alec Burks, Duncan Robinson, and Sadiq Bey. I assume Alec Burks is kind of just thrown in there to make the contracts match. You're really just trying to get Duncan Robinson and Sadiq Bey. The Heat would get Karis LeVert. The Pistons would get Dylan Windler and a first-round pick from Miami. If I'm the Cavs, I would do this pick. I would do this trade. If I'm the Pistons, I might. If I'm the Heat, I don't know. I really don't know. I just don't see the reason for the Heat trading for Karis LeVert when they already have Tyler Hero on the roster. But you have to keep in mind, Karis LeVert is one of those dudes that it makes sense to trade for until you trade for him. So the trade logic for him for other teams might not be what the team that currently has him thinks, because it's not like Karis LeVert is a bad player. It's really not. But he does stuff at certain times that just drive you crazy. Like, he is the number one drive you crazy player in the NBA. Like, he's just going to, if he plays in your top 8 of your rotation, no matter, he's going to drive you crazy. He's not bad. He's a good player. That's why he gets traded for like high assets all the time. But he just does these like handful of things every once in a while that drive you crazy. So my trade value, if I were the Heat, I wouldn't trade for Karis LeVert. But I can see why the Heat not having Karis LeVert might want to get Karis LeVert. Might make sense for him. As far as the Cavs getting rid of Dylan Windler and Karis LeVert in this trade, I'm fine with it. I mean, the only thing I'm worried about with trading Dylan Windler is, like, is he going to pass his physical so this trade can go through? Because that man is never healthy. I don't even know what we would miss in Dylan Windler, but I don't think it'd be much. Or maybe he turns into something, I don't know, but he ain't been playing here, man. Like, I can't be that mad about it. And the Pistons would get a first round pick. It would be Miami's first round pick, but teams are getting more and more out at the back end of the first round nowadays. So those are actually more valuable than they were like 10 years ago. And then Dylan Windler, you see what you can do with him, right? You know, it's a flyer. You get rid of a couple contracts here. Sadiq Bey is interesting. I would like Sadiq Bey. Some people don't. I would be fine with it. Let's look at some other trade ideas here, or some trade targets. Right, this is from WKYC, Channel 3 in Cleveland. Tim Hardaway Jr. Nah, I'm not trading Karis LeVert to get Karis LeVert. We're just trading for somebody with more goodwill that's the same player. I don't want to do it. And I think the Cavs don't want to do it because they kind of see Tim Hardaway and Karis LeVert as the same player. And I think that's an accurate comp. I think they're the same player, except for Karis has a little bit more chemistry with this rotation. Why make that move? I don't know. I wouldn't do it. Josh Richardson, I would be interested in this. I wouldn't be excited about it, but I'll be interested in this. Good length there. Terrence Ross, man. He's been around forever. Yeah, I would be fine with it, but it would be a 1-year deal, right? Like, I think if you make a move here for a wing, the Cavs are an interesting team to where they're not going to win a championship this year, but you do have goals that you want to reach. And they're not high enough goals yet to where you can justify trading for somebody on a 1-year deal that you don't plan on extending. So that's where I would be with the 1-year contract, guys. There's Gary Harris here. Harrison Barnes is super interesting. And in this article from WKYC, they say at 22 and 15. Okay, so the Kings are at 5th place in the conference. I don't think the Kings are trading Harrison Bryant. I think they're going to actually go all in to try to like win a playoff series this year. Harrison Barnes, my bad. Harrison Barnes would be interesting because what we know of Harrison Barnes is he's a two-way player who can make threes sometimes. He was on the original core of the Warriors 73 win team, but that was a long time ago. He also wasn't the most consistent three-point shooter back in the day, and he also was not the most consistent defender. People forget that Harrison Barnes got kind of picked on in his prime in the 2015 finals, and that's kind of why Iguodala had to step in and play so many minutes in that finals, end up winning finals MVP, or had to step up for him and take over some of his responsibilities for him in that situation. So I just don't love Harrison Barnes there, and I just don't think it's really going to happen. Apologies. I recorded a Browns video earlier where I was literally talking about Harrison Bryant. So that's why I said Harrison Bryant in this video. Josh Hart is somebody that's been brought up. Here's the awkward situation the Cavs are in. They don't have that many assets. They have Karis LeVert, who they could trade. Kevin Love's not playing well enough to justify trading him. And even if he did, he would be a hard asset to trade. Nobody wants Jetty. Nobody's going to trade for Neto or something like that. Nobody wants any of those. Isaac is somebody who has some trade value, and maybe Dylan Windler is somebody who has some trade value, and you don't have first round pick or control of your first round picks to really trade. So you don't really have that many assets. You're also in a weird spot to where you're a win now team, right? You're in your win window, right? But if we go to the NBA standings, there are a lot of teams in that area, right? Where in previous years, there were a lot more sellers than buyers. This year, it don't really look like that, right? 1 through 7, we have teams that are all 3 games above 500 at the very least in the East. The Hawks are at 500, and usually that's the cutoff line for teams that are willing to sell. So it's more than half of the East probably trying to buy. Maybe the Hawks sell and tip it over, but more than half the East is trying to buy rather than sell. And there's always a team like the Raptors that decide, even though they're 5 games under 500, that they want to buy and not sell too, right? Then you look at the Western Conference and all the way up to the 10th seed, everybody is at least 500. So you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that really don't have incentive to sell. We're talking about less than half the league. We're talking about 30% of teams that have incentive to sell. And I think that's the problem that the Cavs are going to run up on. Now, by the time this video is out, it might be possible the Cavs made a trade and this whole point's null and void. And if that is, I apologize about that. But that is, and then some of these teams, right, that are willing to trade don't really have assets to trade. Like the Rockets aren't going to trade you anybody really that valuable. Maybe the Spurs, the Lakers, again, they might be buyers, not sellers. The Trailblazers, they're also in the points where they might be buyers, not sellers, even though they're under 500. It's in the Thunder's super young, the Jazz is super young, and they literally just acquired half their roster through trades in the offseason. So I don't even know how many of those guys are even trade eligible. So it's this weird thing where we're having to trade with other teams that are also contending. And those are handshakes that are hard to negotiate. But that's my thoughts on the trades. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.